Welcome back. So I just listened to a podcast that Tom Brady went on, and there's like three key nuggets that I learned from that hour and a half podcast, and I want to share it with you. So for those that don't know, Tom Brady, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks. He's won a lot of Super Bowls, and he was able to sustain his NFL career until he's 45, which is really old in NFL standards, right? So there's a lot of things that he was doing and he shared that I learned, and I think you can definitely apply it to yourself if you're like a business owner, if you're into self improvement, and how to just be successful over a long period of time. So let's just jump right into it. So, the number one key that I got from Tom Brady is that discipline is key. So, he said that you can measure success based on your level of discipline. Are you willing to put in the work when others are playing? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to continue when others would quit? You want to improve your level of discipline over time and see your success exponentially grow, right? So gave a story about like how when he was in high school, like he was like the fourth string quarterback on a really bad team, and he was just trying to like play. And his second year, he was the third string quarterback. His third year, he'd move up to the second string, and then finally his fourth year, he was a starting quarterback. And at that point, he thought he did pretty well and was trying to get recruited to college. And he had multiple colleges that he was interested in, and he ended up going to University of Michigan, and there he was a seventh string quarterback, right? Despite having a really good senior year um, in high school. And he just said that like he would go to the coach and be like, "Hey, like I'm improving. Like, how do I get more opportunities? Like, as a seventh string quarterback, he only got like two throws during practice." And then his coaches told him, "Hey, I want you to talk to the sports psychologist, who was, I think, Greg Harden." And he talked to Greg Harden, and Greg Harden said, "You know what? Don't worry about the other quarterbacks, how many snaps are getting. Just worry about the two snaps that you're getting, and make those the two best snaps you can ever do." And that's what he focused on, right? He's like, "All right, I'm gonna do all this work. I'm gonna have all this discipline, right? I'm gonna come in earlier than most people. I'm gonna stay later than most people. I'm gonna focus on mechanics here and there. I'm willing when the other quarterbacks are having fun, they're playing. I'm working to get ahead of them, right? Because I can only control my discipline. I cannot control my talent relative to the other quarterbacks. There's a lot of quarterbacks, especially in early college, it's just a lot of natural talent, right? There's quarterbacks who have natural athleticism, a natural arm. They have a big arm. They can throw deep. They're taller. They're physically gifted. They're just more talented naturally. And Tom Brady knew he didn't have any of that, so he thought that I need to make up with that through discipline. So he put in the work. He would work off season. He would work on the weekends. He would work after practice and just getting those extra reps. And he did the best he can to do two good reps, which led to four good reps, which led him to four reps, which led him to eight reps. Then eventually he would work himself up to the backup quarterback his third year, and on his fourth year, they brought in another quarterback that was highly rated, and then he had to be against that quarterback, ended up being that quarterback. And at that point, he basically won a couple of bowl games at University of Michigan, and just thought, all right, well, I did pretty good in college, so I'm gonna get drafted. And as you know, he was drafted in the sixth round and went to the Patriots as like the fourth string quarterback, and worked his way up to second string quarterback. And then when the starter got injured, he came in, and basically at that point, the rest was history, right? So, you know, and this was very telling to me because like literally, this is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He won like seven Super Bowls, and even he was just saying that like discipline's key. Like you have to be very disciplined and make a lot of sacrifice. So he said, for example, at 30, he never really focused on his diet, and at 30 to 35, he just said, you know what, most people slow down in their 30s in the NFL. He's like, you know what, I want to speed up. So he basically learned how to improve his diet, like what foods to avoid, how to exercise, how to stretch, how to mentally prepare himself. Like he just slowly would improve over time, which leads to kind of point number two. So Tom Brady's point number two was improve daily. So, I get it. It's hard to change. Our brains are wired to be on autopilot and conserve energy. That means it's easy to maintain the status quo and have no change. Change can be scary. It's intimidating, right? Like you can look at some people that you've known since like high school. They haven't changed at all. Like that, nothing against that, but like they literally have not changed in 10 to 15 years. They're the exact same person they were. Versus if you focus on improving daily and you look back in 10 to 15 years, you change significantly. So, and also like massive change can lead to like burnout, right? I'm sure you hear a lot of people, New Year starts, you're like, you know what, I want to lose 15, 20 pounds this year in like 2 months. And they try it for, a week or two, they burn out, and then their motivation wears off and they just maintain the status quo, right? And they never lose the weight, right? Like how many people have you talked to that said, you know what, I've been wanting to lose weight every year for the past like 10 years, right? Like that's a lot of people. Or like for me, like, oh, like, I want to work out more. I've been saying that for like the past couple of years. Um, so if you want to implement change, it's smarter to do it on a daily basis and very small incremental steps, and just be consistent at it and sustain it over a long period of time. Like for me, I'm not gonna just jump in. Like for me, I fell out of my gym habit during COVID because all the gyms were closed and I lost the habit. So to literally start myself up again, I would just like do 10 push-ups in my apartment, right? Or I would just do like a 10-minute workout at the gym. Like just the keys to get to the gym. And eventually I'd go be a 30-minute workout. Then sometimes a 40-minute workout or an hour workout. Or if that day I'm feeling tired, I'll just go in for 10 minutes. Like whatever you can do, just um, do it, build the habit, and then so you ensure that you don't burn yourself out and that your motivation is not wearing off. And then eventually it just starts to become habit, and you feel unnatural if you don't go to the gym, if you don't work out, if you don't move your body. Right. So even me, I'm trying to rebuild that habit and improve daily. So finding little hacks, like it's okay. Like don't beat yourself up. Like the key is just doing something active, even if it's very little, and at least checking off the identity that, hey, I do, exercise, or I do keep my word. So for my improvement, basically how I started was I just learned how to save money and earn more money, right? Like once you learn how to save money and earn more money, it increases your savings rate. Eventually I could save to buy a single family home, which I house hacked, and then that snowballed into me owning 5 single family homes. Then I took all the equity out of those 5 single family homes to buy all my apartment complexes and mobile home park, right? So it took that's a 10-year process I just described in like 2 minutes, but that's what got me started was just learning how to save more money and earn more money. Like that's it. That's step one, right? So always just identify like what's your step one and how can you slowly improve that, and look back in like 5 to 10 years and see how much you improved. Like Tom Brady said that at 35, he felt better at 35 than at 30. When most people are by 35, their NFL career is over, right? Like that's considered old. So this is what I mean by success leads clues, right? And Tom Brady shared those clues, how he was able to play until he was like 45. And, right now the oldest player in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers at 38. So Tom Brady was like 7 years older than Aaron Rodgers, right? For some perspective. And, Tom Brady was winning, Super Bowl as well into his 40s. And the number three thing that I noticed that Tom Brady focused on was he focused on the process, not the outcomes. So, what he kind of said was like people thought that he was aiming for a certain ring count, right? And he said that honestly, he wasn't. He was just literally trying to improve daily. He wanted to focus on the process. He focused a lot on building relationships with his teammates and having leadership and, setting an example. And he just said that in football, every year is a new year. Even though you won the Super Bowl last year, the following year, it doesn't matter, right? You're all starting from zero. It doesn't mean anything. You won last year. That's great. Congratulate yourself. But next year, it's a new year and anything can happen, right? So he basically would focus on the process, and he enjoyed the process, not the outcome. Because it's easy for him to like, hey, I already won like multiple Super Bowls, and then you can just stop trying, right? You see a lot of quarterbacks that did that, where they won like one Super Bowl, and after that, their motivation went down. They had no more motivation. They're not chasing any outcome anymore because they're not as focused on the process. Versus Tom Brady, he was very focused on the process, and that's how you keep going, right? So if you focus on the outcome, the issue is the outcome is never as good as it seems. The high isn't as high as expected, but also the low isn't as bad looking in retrospect, right? I've experienced this many times, right? Like buying my first apartment complex, I felt amazing. My first single family home, I felt amazing. When I bought my second, third, fourth, fifth single family home, I felt absolutely nothing. When I bought my second, third apartment complex in mobile home park, I felt absolutely nothing, right? So what's key is developing the process to be sustainable, and you want to buy real estate over a long period of time without burning out and losing motivation. That's the true key to success long term, right? So can I sustain buying 80 units every 8 months and doing value add for three different properties? No, that's not sustainable. That burnt me out. Right? I'm burnt out from it right now. But is it sustainable for me to, maybe buy an apartment complex once every 3 years, stabilize it, renovate it, have new tenants, do cash out refinance? That's very doable, right? I can do that every 3 years, at least, right? And this is while working full time. If I leave my full time job, then maybe I can do two every 3 years, right? If I have the reserves for that, right? So that's what I mean. Like when you burn out, like when I burnt out from real estate, I lost motivation towards it. I actually hated real estate, right? Like that's when you hate it. When you're burnt out, you hate it because it's causing you all this stress, all this misery, all this anxiety, all the sleepless nights, right? So I was actually hating real estate and I had to get my mind right. So the key is you want to buy and scale slowly in real estate, right? Take actions that you know. I think about it like, can I be going this aggressive when I'm in my 50s or 60s? No. So continue at a rate that's sustainable over a long period of time, but just do it for a long period of time because that's where most people fail. They can't do things for a long period of time. They just give up after like a year, right? That sounds familiar. So basically, in order to sustain real estate over decades, you need to scale slowly and steady. You have good reserves and continue adding, increasing your reserves as you own more real estate, right? And once you obtain a certain number of units or a monthly cash flow number, for me, it's 20K a month net. Once I hit that, I'm gonna start deleveraging, right? I'm not gonna leverage my real estate as much. I'm gonna start, maybe putting a larger down payment or not doing cash out refinances on my single or my properties and leveraging more, right? So you have to reevaluate because think about it. Like Dave Ramsey, he owns half a billion in real estate without a single loan on it. Whether the market's good or bad, the banks will never take the property from him because there is no bank on the loan. It's just him, right? So Tom Brady did the same, where like he was focused on the process of the day to day preparation. Like, how do we game plan for our next opponent? How do I keep myself, my mind, my body in shape for football? In football, you're always getting hit, you're always getting injured. So if you know it's Tom Brady, he never takes big hits. He knows if he's about to get sacked, he throws the ball away, or he'll ground the ball, or he'll just like tuck it and kind of go down already before he gets sacked. Because one big hit from a defensive end, they'll knock you out, right, for the whole season, right? It might break a bone, might break a rib, right? We've seen it all. So he knows when to basically give the ball so he doesn't get sacked. So if you reduce the number of hits, you reduce the number of injuries. And all quarterbacks, all NFL players, they play injured. So he would like do the best. Like he would do like yoga to improve his flexibility. He would get massages, do ice baths, like whatever advantage he get to reduce inflammation in his body, right? Because you're constantly in inflammation when you're getting injured or getting hit. So he would reduce foods that cause inflammation, like tomatoes, eggplants, chocolate. Like he would cut that out. And then he would focus on like a diet that gave him energy to perform at a high level. He would do mental, phone games to keep his mind fast and processing fast so that he can make quick decisions as a quarterback. So this is how he sustained greatness for until 45 and playing at a high level, right? Even in his year that he retired, he still made the playoffs, second round and lost. And honestly, if he played another year, he probably could have been just as good, right? So this is what I mean by he really focused on the process of improving himself, and never really focused on winning Super Bowls. And if you focus on the process, like the results will come naturally. But also that if you focus on the process, you can do it for a long period of time and really enjoy the process, right? Like enjoy the journey, not the destination. Is kind of the same. So I definitely need to learn that. So I was definitely chasing an outcome of a certain number unit count, but by chasing that certain number, I hit it. I hit close to 100 units, and it didn't feel as good as I thought it'd be, right? And I hit it. I felt burnt out. I felt stressed, and I felt my motivation going down because the high wasn't as great. But now that I'm kind of dialing back and just more focusing on the process, like, all right, I know how to buy real estate. I just need to sustain this over the rest of my life, and I'll build way more enough wealth than I ever will. Like same with like social media. Like what can I do that's sustainable? And for me, what's sustainable is just being consistent and not having to edit right now, and eventually, hiring an editor to edit my videos. So, once again, I kind of summarized this video. The three principles of success are: number one is discipline is key. Number two is improve daily. And number three is focus on the process, not the outcome. So hopefully you can take these three principles and apply it to your life as a real estate investor and use it to grow yourself and prepare yourself for a lifelong journey of investing in real estate. Hopefully you found value and see you in the next one.